Welcome to Vibrant Numerals, where we explore the vibrations around us and work to incorporate them into our everyday lives and into our practice. I'm Elizabeth, and in this video, I'm combining parts 1 through 4 of this I Am Who I Am series. I will be releasing this video in a way that hopefully will continue this conversation and we can continue to use these vibrations and the information to enhance our life. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. So I'm making this recording in July 2025, near the end of July. But this phrase, I am who I am, has been coming up a lot in the vibrational tapestry. And themes around I am who I am have been coming up a lot in many different areas of life. And these would be themes around not just identifying yourself. What stand are you taking? What side of the line do you stand on? Where are you going, but also how your purpose or mine, I am, how that purpose fits within the bigger picture. So, how does my purpose and who I am impact my family, impact my community, add to the bigger purpose of the world around me? And I saw this heavily before in 2023. And I think we are seeing it again for some very particular reasons. So, first of all, the phrase I am does equal 23. And so that's why it made sense that we would first have this start coming up in 2023, that there was very big 23 energy. And 23 is the examination of growth, remembering that all vibration is neutral. And so that means your growth um, can be in any direction. It could be in a direction that is good for you, and that's how we typically think about growth. But it could also be in the opposite or wrong direction, where it's actually taking you farther away, because growth really is about pulling you away from where you were. Now, is that pulling you forward towards a bigger, better place, or is it pulling you backwards to a different place? Or could it be pulling you to a whole different direction and pulling you away from where you actually want to be? So it's this growth that's happening that then is making clear where the dualism is in your life. Where is the line between the extremes? When we think about this number 23, this vibration 23, yes, it goes to a 5, which is all about change, but it's where is that change coming from? The change is coming from the direction in which you are growing, the 3, and then what extremes are being included in that growth, or what extreme are you growing towards. With a 2, we don't want to be balancing between the extremes. We want to be either going to one extreme or the other, which neither extreme is really good for you. It's not good to be at extremes at all. So you could be creating a whole new space that recognizes and acknowledges all extremes. Um, but the changes that you see in yourself and in other people can be go back to what growth was made and what extremes are included within that growth. That is I am. And if we look at this phrase again, I am who I am. Now we have I am on either end. So we have 23 on both sides. And that's now creating this 5-5 portal that's rotating around. But when we look closer at the word who is actually made up of two 23s also. And so now it's not just a portal, it's this big, huge whirlpool. Because now we have 23, 23, 23, 23. And this movement is creating this whirlpool around I am. It's creating this whirlpool around who you are as an individual, and it's drawing in any thing that is connected to I am, or that you're connecting to I am. So there's these four pieces that kind of work together and come together to make I am. And it's really important to recognize where these are coming from and what they entail. So when we think about I am who I am, we have these four different I ams that are coming together to make up this vibrational being of who you are. And it begins with I am of God. I am of a higher power. I am of this bigger vibrational, energetic being, whether it's the universe, God, goddess, whatever that bigger than you vibrational energy is. You first have to recognize the I am, the part of you that is connected to something bigger than you. That vibrational connection that's bigger than you. That is the first I am. And then that I am can help you establish the I am of who you are as an individual. Who do you represent? What is it that makes you you? And in thinking about what makes you an individual and what makes you you, the third I am comes in place where it's I am not. Because to be able to say, this is who I am, what I represent, and how I take my place in the world, you also have to recognize that other flip side, that mirror image side of I am not. So by presenting who you are, you also are looking at who you are not. And so as we are examining this I am energy, as more of this Aries energy is coming into play with Saturn and also Neptune, we're going to get more and more of this I am energy. And these are the first three places that we really have to look deep. We have to look at who is the part of who I am that is connected to this bigger vibration. And how does that relate to who I am, who I present to the world, and then who I am not? Because you're actually both. Um, so that I am not is a lot of times that shadow part of ourselves that we like to hide away. It's that vulnerable part of us that we like to act like doesn't exist. But it is still part of who you are. So being able to say, I am not that, actually is part of I am. It is part of who you are. Once we're able to really look at these three, these are huge. It takes people years to really examine this, but understand who they are. Then that's when we can get to this fourth I am of I am all. So all things are me, I am all things. So it begins and ends with this bigger, larger set of vibrations, where it begins with this larger, higher vibration of God and what part of that is connected to you vibrationally, but then recognizing that who you are as an individual, what you represent, I am, and what you don't represent, I am not, or that you hide away, is still connected to I am all. It connects you to nature, it connects you to other people, it connects you to your community, it connects you to the bigger world. And this is also how our purpose flows. Our purpose, our gifts, our talents, our skills are given to us from God, from a higher power. We incorporate that into who I am and who I am not, and then we send it out into the world to I am all. So in our previous discussion of I am who I am, we focused a lot on the 23, rightfully so, because I am is the numerical vibration of 23. And so in this phrase, I am who I am, there's four of them. And that identifies the four I ams that go into our identity. But when we put all of those together, now we get a 92. And so when we were discussing 23, we were talking about how the first step was really making growth. And as we're growing, then we start seeing this dualism and these extremes that are found around who we are and impacting who we are. Then when we get to the 92, and you got to think about all these vibrations like stair steps. So if 3 was our first stair step, and then 2 was our second stair step, and then when we get to the 5 of change that came from the 23, now that's our first landing. And so now we're going up these 2 more steps of 2 and 9 to be able to get to our next landing. And so we have gone up these steps of 3 and 2 to get to this 5, to get to this change where we're able to really make the change necessary to step into our identity, to step into that I am, and recognizing that there's these 4 different pieces of our identity of I am that we have to make changes in and growth in, and understand the extremes within those spaces. And once we get to this 92, now we're faced with 2 again. But here, where the 2 in 23 was really more internal and really about your personal identity. Now, this 2 is still internal, but it's also about how the extremes around you are impacting who you are and your identity. So we live in a dualistic world where there's dualism with these extremes battling against each other everywhere we go. But vibration is neutral, and we're meant to get to a neutral space where we accept all parts of ourselves, all 4 parts I am, and are able to be at a center neutral place, not at any of the extremes. And so here, this too is having us look again at those internal extremes, the extremes that are making up our identity, our I am, but also looking out the extremes outside of ourselves, whether it's in our relationships, our partnerships, in our communities, in our countries, in our cities, in our world, that can be impacting who we are. So, what are the extreme messages and vibrations that we're getting that are impacting our I am, are shifting us one way or another, that are putting us in these rapid states where we're getting pushed and pulled all over the place and not able to have steady, solid ground of I am? So the other part is that with those 4 I ams, that is creating a foundation, a stability. And so this again is challenging that stability. Once we are in a place where we at least understand, now we can move to the 9, which is the energy of endings. So now we can end some of that impact on our I am, on our identity from the outside. If we need to also end anything that is extreme within ourselves, we're able to do that at this stage as well. But this is primarily about ending the impact. We can't end the dualism and the extremes that are happening outside of us, but we can end the impact they have on who we are. We can steady what we're standing on, the foundation of I am, the foundation of our identity, so that we are unmoved. Now, we know that seeing these extremes and really being aware of the extremes and how they are impacting our identity, both internally and externally, is extra important, because 92 now adds up to an 11 and gets us to another 2. But the 11 really is about balancing between these extremes. So if we have found, going through the 2 in 23 and the 2 in 92, and we have found a neutral foundational space, a neutral space between these extremes. We're not allowing the extremes to impact us internally or externally, changing who we are or changing our identity or I am. But now we have to look at, where are we balancing between these extremes? So even in a neutral space, we could be balancing between these extremes, which is still making us unsteady. So this is shoring up that foundation of who we are, of our identity. It's shoring up that those 4 pillars of I am. So now we can be even stronger in our identity and in that I am that we are stepping into. We look at what we're balancing between, and then we go back to the 2 of having to really examine those extremes, figure out how to be able to find a neutral space by combining and like bringing those extremes together to create something new, or getting rid of both of them. You can't get rid of one extreme without the other. And really, no extreme is good for us. It's not good to be at any extreme. Best to be at a neutral position. So we can see that through these steps that we're taking, we are being encountered with this dualism and needing to find a neutral space between extremes over and over again. Now, 92 is a numerical vibration that represents several words, and 2 of those words are laughter and numbers. And both of these, we can see how they can have these extremes, but also how they can contribute to our identity. So like something like laughter, where your laugh can be seen as something like a trademark. It's something as like a fingerprint that's unique to you and represents you. But outside forces can impact your laughter. Is outside forces making you laugh or making you not laugh? Are they making you laugh uncomfortably? Or are they making you truly belly laugh? Which is therapeutic. But I also think about my own personal story, which is kind of embarrassing, but I will share, is when I was a preteen. Um, I remember going through and practicing all these different laughs and trying to choose which laugh I was going to have instead of letting myself just laugh how I laugh. I was very concerned about what other people would think, and how the way I laughed and what I laughed at represented me. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that anymore. But that's an example of how these outside extremes and forces can impact our identity, it just in something as simple as a laugh. And we're seeing that a lot with numbers as well right now, in lots of different areas of life. Where are your numbers representative of you, and which numbers do we not need to allow to change who we are? So, for example, your life path number is the vibration that you resonate out. When you combine that with the vibration of your name that is unique to you, and it sets this path for your life. It's the vibration you're adding to the vibrational tapestry and to everybody that you encounter. That's a very important number that's very representative of you. But we also have these numbers of everybody has a poll, everybody has research statistics, everybody has stats. And trying to make sure that you can use those to be able to show and prove your representation, but also not get swayed by them. You cannot let those external numbers change who you are. And so these are just a couple of examples of how that vibration of 92 can show up, and where we could have brought to our attention that we need to be aware of this phrase, I am who I am. We also always have to remember that the astrology, which would be like these big vibrational forces that are impacting the earth as a whole, are also adding to this tapestry of vibration that makes us who we are. So, when we think about this first I am of God, I'm thinking about like currently, so that's July 2025 at the time of this recording, and Saturn and Neptune have both moved into Aries, and they are conjunct and have been conjunct and will be conjunct for quite a while. And so how these vibrations in that space of Aries, which is the I am space, but how this vibrations of structure of Saturn, the father figure of Saturn, and then the dream like state of creativity of Neptune. How are those coming from this bigger vibrational entity impacting who I am? And challenging who I am at this moment in time. And then thinking about I am, that is our Aries placement, or our first house placement, and actually both. And so in our own natal charts, being able to see where your Aries is placed, where your first house, which is determined by your rising sign, is placed, can change how these vibrations, these astrological vibrations, are impacting who you are. A good example of this also is in 2023, the North Node was in Aries, and North Node is all about your path, your purpose, and which direction are you going to meet a certain and particular purpose. And because it was in Aries, it was how is your path, your purpose related to who you are. But then we have this opposite over here, where also in 2023, if we had the North Node in Aries, the South Node would have been in Libra. And so there was this push and pull of extremes between how my purpose relates to who I am and me, myself, but also how it relates to the people around me and my partnerships and the we of who we are. Also, Chiron is currently in Aries, and we have both the United States of America and hip hop that have Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is that wounded healer. It's the wound. This is a lot of the times the stuff that we hide. But when Chiron now is coming in Aries. It's looking particularly at the wounds of I am. What are the wounds that have impacted who you are and that I am, and how you are representing yourself, and that foundation that you are standing on for your I am. And then lastly, this I am all is feeling very much impacted by Pluto in Aquarius, where Pluto was in Capricorn since 2008, and moved permanently into Aquarius earlier this year in 2025. And now it will be in Aquarius for the next 15 to 20 years, 15, 18 years. And Aquarius is all about the people, we the people, the community, the collective, and Pluto's transformation. So having the transformation energy of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius about community, collaboration, coming together, the people, is really amping up this look at I am all. How do you and your identity relate to those around you? I think also this Jupiter in Cancer, that'll be there for about a year. It just moved in June 2025, and it'll be there for about a year. But it's amplifying this Cancer energy, where the Cancer energy really is about the moon cycles, but also home. Cancer represents the fourth house of home and family and close, intimate partnerships and relationships. And so Jupiter is amplifying that energy. How are we nurturing not just ourselves as I am, but also nurturing those others around us and building home, building community, especially with that Pluto and Aquarius together? It feels very much like this is getting amplified in that way. And so it's important to, as we are identity developing and really looking at I am and working on building our identity and what we're putting out into the world, to recognize how astrology is impacting those vibrations as well. So I'm going to read this channeled message, and feel free to listen back to it as many times as you want and you need to. Also, feel free to use this as a meditation piece as you are working on this concept of I am and identity development, and I am who I am. I am who I am. The I am that I am is made up of 4 I ams. The I am of God. This I am is me, made in the image of God, Goddess, Universe. The I am. This I am is how I define myself, who I am, and how I present myself to the world. The I am not. This I am is the opposite of all that I used to define myself, the part of me I hide from others, the world, and sometimes myself. The I am all. This I am is the I am that recognizes myself in all others, living and unliving, seen and unseen, all vibration, all energy. I am who I am. So in other parts of this series, we've talked about I am having the numerical vibration of 23, and how this phrase, I am who I am, has a representation of 4 different I ams, so 4 different parts of our identity. And when we start thinking about these 4 parts of identity, there's not any one that we're starting with. They represent both the big picture, overall picture of who we are, of our identity, all the way down to the minute details of who we are and our identity, and how that identity connects to the world and the people around us. So when we think about 230, we start looking at this portion of identity around I am of God. And this is because that 230 has 0 in it. So instead of just being 23, it also has the 0. And the 0 is this divine, cosmic God energy, that it's the only energy, the only vibration that we do not have control over. So God, the universe, that higher power is who infuses this energy into us. And so 230 is showing us how, with this cosmic universal God energy, we're able to have an enhancement of our identity and of the I am, the who we are. And I think that we are best able to not only have this enhancement come in, because that 0 vibration is for everybody and is meant to enhance all identities, but I don't think it's able to come fully in and stay in and become truly part of our identity, of our I am, unless you have these 4 pieces in place. So it's kind of like building a container that can be filled, because we can't control the 0, but we can create this container that is strong and fortified and a good foundation to be able to hold that energy. And then that 0 energy enhances and amplifies that I am foundation and base that we've made up of these 4 I ams. So we have to be able to have a place for this cosmic God energy to come in. We have to invite it in. So we also have to make sure that the container we built allows the energy in. I think we have a misconception of, like, and it's just in the definition of the world that we live in, that when we think of something as strong, we think of it as like more solid. But in the vibrational realm, you have a stronger container or a stronger foundation when vibrations are able to come in and weave with it and combine with it and enhance it and make it stronger. So it's almost like you have, it's strong, but at the same time permeable. It's still able to take in additional vibrations. And so I think that's what we're dealing with here, where we're trying to have that 0 God energy be able to come in and enhance our identity. That we have to have these 4 pieces of I am, and they need to be solid so that our identity is strong and the foundation of our identity is strong. But we have to be flexible and permeable enough to allow the vibration of God, that 0, to come in and enhance us. But this is the same way with any relationship that we have with any other source of vibration, whether it's another person, whether it's Mother Earth, whether it's a group of people, whether it's a culture. We have to be able to allow those vibrations to come in and enhance our identity. But we can also we run the risk then of also having vibrations that come in that disrupt our identity. But that's where you know where your true strength in your I am is. You have to have the strength and the permeability. So to give us some more to think about, here are some phrases that have the numerical vibration of 230. And right now, so I'm recording this, I don't know the date, but it's August 2025. It's like mid-month, closer to the end of the month, which I can't believe. But at this moment, certain ones of these are going to be highlighted um, because of what we have going on in the world, because that zero energy is the universal God energy, and it enhances all vibration as it comes into our plane. It enhances everything. And right now, one of these that is highly enhanced is Aries Chiron retrograde, where Aries is that area of I am. Chiron is the wound. So these are the wounds of the identity of the I am that are getting reviewed, reevaluated, restructured. That's all the retrograde pieces. But as we go through this I am journey, one of the ways that we can make sure that our identity container is permeable is if we are encountering some of these phrases and themes, because then that means we are allowing that zero, that God energy to come in and help us enhance our identity, enhance our I am. So if that energy comes in and you are faced with something like this one that's to be biggest hypocrite, and you're battling with what is the biggest hypocrite? Am I the biggest hypocrite? Who do I consider the biggest hypocrite? What are these things I need to work through around that definition of to be biggest hypocrite? Now you know that that zero energy is able to come in, and it's bringing you this lesson to be able to enhance and build up even stronger that I am, that identity, because you have to fight through what are these parts of this lesson that contribute to I am, but also contribute to I am not, and contribute to I am all, my connection to others. And so this is a good way of us being able to recognize if our identity container is permeable enough for that zero vibration, that God energy to come in and help us boost up and increase our identity. So take a look at these phrases. Let me know in the comments which of these you have seen come up in your life, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it more. Let's continue to talk about this formation of I am and identity. This is a very powerful time to build up our identities and make sure that they are both permeable and strong. Hopefully it was helpful for you to have all of these parts together. Please let me know if putting the videos that come together in a series together in this way is helpful for you. And let's continue the conversation in the comments. Thank you for sticking in there with me and watching the whole thing. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you soon. Bye.